everybody. Welcome back to another episode of The Skeleton Crew. I'm your host, Jen Callahan, and tonight I have a guest with me. His name is Joel Horsford, and he's here to talk to me tonight about the company that he started called radEmploy. It's a new platform out there for radiology staffing. So we're going to talk to him about, where he's been in his past, what led him to want to start up his own company, and maybe where it's going to be moving in the future. So, Joel, thanks for being with me tonight.
Jen, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to joining the Skeleton Crew and having this chat. Very excited.
Yeah. So first, let's start talking about you a little bit. Let's talk about, where you were and how you kind of ended up here. So Joel and I, before we started talking, kind of have figured out that we have a common thread with each other, that we both started in a different field before we entered into the rad tech field. We both have bachelors of arts, mine's in criminology. I believe, Joel, yours is in communications.
Yep, mine's communication.
Right. And then I'll let you take the story over from there.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. So, like I mentioned, I'm very excited to be on this call. I've listened to a lot of your episodes, so it's good to be finally the person on the other side here. So yeah, I used to, I've been a tech for 10 years now. Prior to being a technologist, like a licensed technologist, I worked in advertising. I worked in advertising for 2 years. In 2008, transitioned out when the mortgage crisis hit. I think I mentioned this to you before, but mortgage crisis hit, and our whole department was laid off. And I was like, what's the new thing for me? What am I passionate about? And I've always been about patient care, always loved healthcare. I have a sister who's a gynecologist. And I went into radiology, went right back to school and figured it out from there. And it's been 10 years since that time. Time really does fly. But now, I'm in a great place as the CEO and founder of radEmploy. There's a lot in between that, and I can always touch on all the things in between as we have this conversation.
Yeah. So you graduated from X-ray school, and just to get a little background of you, were you in a hospital-based system or outpatient? Were you a traveling staff technologist like a lot of people are doing now?
Yeah, that is a big thing now. Well, when I graduated, I worked 2 jobs. I worked overnight at a hospital. The hospital I worked at is Kings County Hospital in Brooklyn, New York. I was actually born in that same hospital too, so it was really interesting coming full circle. And at the same time, I was working at Lenox Hill Radiology in New York City as well, in Manhattan. So I was doing 2 jobs at that time, which a lot of techs do. You try to figure out what works best for you, which I tell a lot of students when you graduate, learn all the different aspects and find out what works for you, because that's what I did. And I ended up becoming a manager like a year later at Lenox Hill Radiology and really helped them with their largest location in New York City. Yeah.
Is Lenox Hill a big hospital?
So Lenox Hill is a big outpatient center. They have about 40 centers all throughout New York City now. When I first started, it was less, but the company grows extremely quickly. Yeah, but they're the largest imaging center company in New York City.
Yeah. So you're going from a working technologist, and then you kind of took a big transition and you started working with a startup company, right?
I did. Yeah, I built a really good relationship with the CEO of a startup company called Ezra. And I worked there for 2 years as the head of operations. We did really well, helped a lot of people. Ezra is a full body cancer screening company, so using artificial intelligence. And we did a lot of great work there. And really, that's where I earned a lot of my chops. Going into the startup world, you don't know what to expect and you learn a lot. But the great thing about it is when you have a background as a tech and you know enough to apply it to another aspect of your career, you have an edge, which is a beautiful thing to have in a working environment that's extremely competitive, right? Having some form of edge. Yeah.
Yeah. Because your knowledge, I mean, although you're not certified in MRI, right? You're an RT.
RT, yep.
So, I mean, even though you don't have that clinical training in that portion, I mean, the knowledge that you have from working with imaging is, like you said, it gives you an edge. Your mind works a little bit differently than, say, a computer programmer, who is trying to develop this software, this, AI technology. I was really interested in the company that you moved to from then, in between Ezra and radEmploy, Medmo. I just really love the underlying theme of them about how they were trying to help like uninsured or underinsured patients, try to be able to obtain the proper testing and imaging without completely like robbing them of their bank account.
Yeah, that's the mission there is incredible. That mission was really a great one. The team there is awesome as well. Still have great relationships there. Um, yeah, the essentially the goal in that company was to allow patients to get access to care without breaking the bank,
Mhm.
right? And oftentimes patients don't really know where to go. They only go where they're familiar with. And sometimes that's not actually the place you should go. You should actually go another mile out to another center or hospital that has the pricing or the rates that you need. That's the whole pricing transparency thing that everybody talks about now as well. Um, I think that Medmo had a great mission, has a great mission because so many people were able to save money working through Medmo and getting the right location to get their scan done, depending on what they needed done, whether it was an MRI, CT, X-ray, or many others underneath that. Yeah.
It's crazy how that places, I mean, not to say they necessarily have the same equipment, because some places have newer equipment than others. But essentially, let's say like you're getting the same scan done, here or across the street, and over here it's $500 more than the place across the street. And then even though you might have insurance, like you had said, underinsured, like you might have insurance, but it's not covering much. It's the discrepancy, I feel like, of what's there with insurance and patients is just it's kind of heartbreaking, to be honest. That
It is.
people put off getting tests done because they can't afford what the possible copay is going to be, and
Exactly.
then down the lane they end up, with a big health issue because they couldn't do the proper testing.
Yeah. There's too much of a gray area for sure. And that just causes people to have anxiety, stress, and essentially they're fearful of even getting the exam because they don't want to go broke trying to take care of themselves.
Right.
So they just avoid it altogether. And that's just what we don't want people to do. Yeah.
So from there, what led you into, wanting to branch out onto your own?
So that's a great question. And I'm so excited to really talk about this. So I initially started doing what we call, and we still do now, is a virtual fireside chat for medical imaging professionals about a year ago.
Mhm.
And so many incredible people in the field. We literally had people from almost every state joining these calls, a few people from other countries joining these monthly calls. So while doing these calls, I learned that the biggest concern was the need for medical imaging professionals of all sorts to fill roles in doctors' offices, hospitals, imaging centers. So many people were unaware of the opportunities that were out there when we were having these calls. But also health systems were breaking their back trying to find strong candidates. So when I was having these virtual fireside chats, I said, a lot of people are here and the employers don't know who they are. And there has to be a way to bridge this gap. So I built radEmploy to really solve the staffing crisis, especially in radiology, specifically radiology, really to bridge the gap between medical imaging professionals and the careers that are available to us. There is so much to offer once we can bridge that gap.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So would you say that it's not a staffing agency. It's kind of, not to compare you to another platform, but how you might go into Indeed.com to like look to see what current jobs are out there. Is it something similar to that?
It's similar.
Probably on a bigger scale or, a more direct scale, I guess.
Yeah, it's similar in certain ways, but it's different in this way. radEmploy is essentially what we call a marketplace, right? And instead of it being like a job board or a place where you can find jobs, it's literally what that means is that we don't place individuals for jobs. We don't place people. radEmploy gives them the autonomy to select the role they see on the platform and connect directly with the employer. So we're cutting the fat, connecting both sides of the industry and allowing both sides to make informed decisions. We're helping the candidates quickly and effectively, reach their goals. But also we're a community because there's education involved. There's information involved that helps, similar to the virtual fireside chat. So like historically, recruiters would place candidates and take a fee. That's not what we do. That model still exists, but we're in a in a time in history where I believe innovation, transparency, and community will lead our profession. Yeah.
So are you basically like countrywide, or are you based since you're kind of starting up, solely in the New York area, or maybe East Coast area?
Yeah, we're heavily focused right now in the East Coast. Over the next couple of months, we'll be transitioning and expanding into more states. We're very focused on addressing inner city, rural areas. We're looking at all different areas of the country so that everybody's really represented and everybody has the ability to get access. The platform is free to employees, right, and students. So really, it's really on them to say, hey, I'm going to create my profile. I can update my profile. I can put in information that makes me more marketable. And I can also connect directly with the employers who have their side of the business as a platform, having direct communication on the marketplace itself.
Would it also to almost go on the other way, where employers who are teaming up with you, are they able to access kind of almost, I hate to call potential employees like a database, but can they, go through the techs that have made a profile and maybe type in like certain like criteria that they're looking for, and maybe it comes up with, a bunch of different names that they might be able to reach out to see if they're interested in the position?
1,000%, 1,000%. Both sides, especially to your point, the employer side, they get the ability to search based on everything from geography to skill sets to who's multimodality, who may just have an MRI, also down to I just want a weekend job. Who wants a weekend job? That person wants it. Great. So now all the questions that normally you ask an employer, but also the questions the employer asks us when we get into the interview, have already been answered on the radEmploy platform. All you're now doing is saying, are you ready to work? And that's the conversation.
Is that basically almost all the way down to, what the potential rate might be of what they're making?
Yes. Every employer on the platform has to put in a range and a realistic range so that it's not, manipulated. A realistic range for those to see, those like us to see exactly what that range will be and whether we're happy with even having the conversation. Because in many ways, I look at the way employment is going in the U.S. is, and especially in radiology, is people are considering themselves like free agents. Yes, we work for a company, but we also see ourselves as valuable enough to negotiate ourselves our own rate. We have families. We don't want to feel like we're just working without having the ability to make decisions. And radEmploy gives you that ability to actually see what's ahead of you to make an informed decision.
This episode is brought to you by xraytech.org, the RadTech career resource. If you're considering a career in radiology, check out xraytech.org to get honest information on schools, degree options, career paths, and salaries. After being a tech for probably close to 9 years, I feel like when I finally felt like I got the gall in me to actually negotiate with an employer, I definitely coming out as like a first year technologist or like a new grad, I was kind of like, oh, you want to hire me? Okay, great.
Exactly.
I was just happy to get a job.
Yep.
I mean, but I guess back when, I'm not sure what year you graduated. I graduated in 2012.
Me too.
That you were I feel like the field was kind of like, there wasn't a whole lot out there.
That's true.
Anyway, at least not in the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia region, or if there was, maybe I just didn't come across it. But I was able to land a per diem job, and I was happy with what I was making per diem wise. I was like, "Ooh, this is great." Especially if I was working close to 40 hours, I was like, "Yeah, like jackpot."
Yeah, I told my parents right away when I graduated 2012 as well, and I got my first job. I called them like, "Look how much money I'm making." I was so excited just about the check. Yeah, totally agree.
But then you have that flip side when I finally was offered full-time employment with the same employer. And because there's benefits and vacation, like your range drops, unfortunately. And it's funny now that it's 12, 13 years later that now, at least the employer that I work at now, I feel like it's almost the opposite. like based off of like your experience, like or our experience at this point, it doesn't even make sense to work per diem. I mean, except for the flexibility aspect of it. Because I feel like based off my experience and like what my employer will pay for it, I actually make more than what a per diem would.
Mm. Yeah, I've heard
And I don't
that.
know if that's the same, you know, in other health systems or, you know, places of employment, but that's kind of where I found. But to your point, negotiation, you know, kind of get there as well with that.
Yeah, that's really one thing that when you really think about it throughout all of our, at least I'll speak for myself, throughout my journey through education, you were never taught to negotiate. You were never taught to like figure out your worth and then bring that directly to the employer and let's come to a conclusion that works. And we can make it happen to make, you know, patients happy and make the business run successfully.
Right. Um, so talking about like new grads, and you know, first year technologists, do you feel like you have a good amount of them that, you know, have come out and created profiles and, you know, or, you know, using your platform to help find their new position? I mean, I feel like there's so many positions out there right now. Like people are like dying for technologists to come work. So
Yeah. We have so many positions right now available at radiemploy, but we also have a lot of students. What's so interesting is that what we decided to do as a business is students who are currently in school, although they're not licensed, they still can create their profile. Because what that does is allows them to see the jobs that are available to them when they get ready to graduate. And it builds that FOMO, like, okay, I'm in school, I know there's opportunities, what are they? And most parents or teachers are saying there's tons of opportunities for you. And we know that's true. But as if you can see it and save it on the platform and then come back to it after you graduate, which is what we do for the students, they can then apply for those same jobs they were holding in their head for so long. Like, I couldn't wait to apply for this position. We have hundreds of students currently on the platform, especially on the East Coast. And eventually we're going to move to the West Coast too and try to help all the techs coming out of school as well then.
yeah. I mean, there's jobs out there waiting for them, honestly. Do you see kind of like a trend of the jobs that are on your platform right now? Like, are they more hospital based? Are they, you know, a good amount of outpatient? Are there anything? Are staffing agencies able to post on there like they're looking for traveling technologists?
Yeah, staffing agencies also have access to post as well. We have a special section for staffing agencies to work with us where we can help them with the goals that they're trying to meet. Most of the jobs, to your first question, are heavily imaging center based, outpatient centers that are looking to hire. We do have hospital positions as well across everything from cardiac to MRI to CT, X-ray, but it's about 70-30 imaging center hospital.
Okay.
Competitive environment on that side of the business these days. Very competitive.
Right. I don't know why I would have thought that hospital would have had a greater need just because the different shifts that are there, you know, first shift, second shift, third shift. Sometimes there's a weekend component in there. So I find, at least where I work, that filling all those different shifts is, I have seen, you know, kind of prove problematic as time has gone on. That I guess, and maybe it's because the field is so competitive now that technologists are like, I don't have to work that shift. I don't have to work a weekend shift. Like I can go find a job and just work Monday through Friday.
Right. Yeah, that's true. You know, I do know too that there are a handful of hospitals that have reached out that are getting ready to be on the platform. So we might talk in 2 weeks and it might be at 50-50 at that point. Every day changes. It's not the stock market, but it feels like it, the way this industry moves so quickly. And there's so much innovation in it now, right? So radEmploy joining this ecosystem of technology while affecting radiology and radiography itself is really important. Yeah.
That brings me to you saying, you know, that you have a few hospitals that will be coming on. How do you find the employers that, you know, that are posting on the platform? Do you reach out to them, or is it kind of like a word of mouth situation?
Yeah, we've been in a very lucky space because demand is so high for these positions that everybody looking to hire for. We haven't had to reach out and do any kind of sales for employers to join, hospitals to join. We've been getting inbounds from the day we launched. We literally launched 7 weeks ago.
No way. Stop.
7 weeks ago. Yeah. And but I lost all my hair already, so I'm not that sure. Yeah, we launched about 7 weeks ago, and we had and still do have a waiting list of employers throughout the country that are joining the platform to identify strong candidates. So I would really recommend anybody that's listening to this with us to join, because there's opportunities there.
Is there certain criteria that potential employers need to meet to be on the platform?
Yes. So everything from ACR accreditation, we look at that. We also look at we make sure they are putting in the salaries. They have to put salaries in as well on the platform, and full descriptions must be put in as well. So the goal for us is to give the employee as much clarity about what the role is above any other type of site out there, so that we have that edge of being the place of truth about what you can get in this field.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Is that even down to like the specific shifts that they might be working?
Yes, even down to the specific shifts. They can attach a job description if they like, but they have an area to put the description. They can choose whether they're looking for full-time, part-time, weekends, travel, what days specifically, whether you need to be basic life support certified. All those things that you need your technologist to have are really important. So we pride ourselves on that for sure.
That's awesome. So you the waiting list that you say, is that just yourself and people that are on your team just going through the different employers and approving them to be added on?
Yeah, we walk through each one of the employers. We do a demo with each one and show them how to use the platform so they effectively are using it the right way. And then we give them their own username and passwords. Mm-hmm. And the great thing is if an employer is located in Philadelphia, right, and let's say somebody from Philly is on the platform, that person will come up as a suggested candidate if they match. So they don't have to go through looking for 20,000 people. They literally will see the top 10 based on qualifications, based on their location, and based on what that person is looking for. And you guys can have the conversation. The greatest thing about it all is that the efficiency around it all is that the employer and employee can actually communicate directly on the platform because we have direct chat. So they can have personal conversation and then set up a Zoom call or whatever type of call they're looking to make, and then hire the employee then.
That's awesome. Because again, I mean, sometimes like applying for a job it's like such a crapshoot. I hate to even use that word, so excuse me. But like it's sometimes like when you're looking for a new position, it can feel like you're like throwing spaghetti out of the wall and you're looking to see which one's going to stick, and then you apply to something, you're like, oh, you really hope that it's going to pan out, like you're going to get an interview and like you never hear back, or you finally hear back 2 months later and it's just like you weren't chosen for this position, and you're like, great. So right. That there's a direct chat between potential employees and potential employers to open up that line of communication, because definitely, I mean, I have felt that frustration on my end applying for different positions. So that's nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you really think about it, there are so many other necessities in the world that we use effective communication to get done. Mm-hmm. All kinds of things, right, that we do. Everything from ordering a package to everything you could think of. It's now you press buttons to get it done. But one of the most essential fields in healthcare and essentially in the world, really, when you think about industry, we all know what happened during COVID. People needed chest x-rays. It was insane. We needed them. Radiology professionals became so essential, right, and that we need to ensure that we keep ourselves at the front line. In order to do that and make it effective, a platform like this is always needed. If it wasn't me, it would have been created, but I'm happy that we were able to build this with our blood, sweat, and tears, to be honest.
So you were saying when we first started talking about the platform that it's not just jobs, but then you're also too incorporating education into it?
Yeah, so we also incorporating things like articles that can fill people in on what's going on in the industry, everything from conventions, events, speaking arrangements, things that are occurring, to reading material that can just give them insight about what's happening or what they need to learn about a specific thing in CT or artificial intelligence and how it impacts you, your career. So all those type of things are also there to help students, but also those who are already in the field. Yeah. But we're going to expand on that. We're still young, but we plan on doing a lot with that.
Is that something that like you might be contacting like ASRT or like the ACR, looking for literature for you to be able to share with people? Is that something that you're exploring?
Absolutely. I love what both organizations are doing. And there are a couple others that I think are doing great things. I absolutely see a world where we can work together to uplift the industry as a whole. They're doing a great job without us, but we're always here to help, strong ties lift all boats, right? So why not?
Information is very valuable. What's the key saying from the 80s? The more you know.
Yeah, exactly.
The star,
Yep, yep, for sure. I remember that vividly too.
I think we're cut from the same year, probably.
Yeah, we both graduated in 2012 too.
Right, right. So candidates that are out there like looking, do you feel like there's specific things that, in your opinion, that they should be looking for to hone in on like what type of position that they want, like specific factors, hours, things like that? Or, are they able to enter in like search criteria for themselves to pull up different employers?
Yeah, they're able to get as deep into the information about the employer as the employer is on the employee. So they can look up the employer based on everything from where the employer is located, how many locations they have, who the hiring manager is, just getting a better understanding of that, how many roles they're looking to fill. So we ran into a situation. I'll give you a scenario that occurred just 2 weeks ago. There were two different employees applying for, one employee actually applying for one role at a hospital on the platform. And they applied for a role, and once they applied for it and connected with the employer, they saw, the employee also saw that there was two other positions available in the same department. They had a friend. That friend was looking for a job. She shared the job with the friend, who then applied as well. Both of them are working together at the same facility today.
That's awesome.
That was all done just by doing those simple steps, right? Almost like a referral, but also, hey, we're good friends. We work well together. I'm going to forward you this job that I think would be great. I'm going to start working there next week. That type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, employers love referrals like that. I mean, generally it's someone who's been working there for a little bit, and like, I have a friend who would be great for this position, but hey, I mean, if two people can get hired at once, who doesn't love working with a friend, right?
Okay. Exactly. Yep.
You can transition into a new situation a little bit easier.
Exactly. Yeah. Totally agree.
So I know that, you're new and you're fresh, starting out, you said 7 weeks ago, but this is obviously, I'm sure, been in development for much longer than that. What are your goals for the year, for your first year, I guess? Obviously you've launched and you seem to be doing pretty well, but do you have a certain goal that you're trying to reach, or you're just kind of like playing out the first year to see how it goes?
Yeah. As you and I get to know each other, you'll start to see that I never play anything out. I always have the goal set. And I'd rather know that I didn't meet a specific goal, and pivot. But yeah, to answer your question, I think our plans are really to expand into new states. We're looking to impact as many people as possible and lift the industry as much as we can.
Mm-hmm.
And as we started in New York and New Jersey and surrounding areas, we look to take the business across the country, and get more people involved. So essentially, for the first year, the goal is expansion and growth as a business, and just having a solid business that people can rely on.
Yeah. I think that's good to be able to expand into, I feel like even if you conquered all of the East Coast first, and then expand it westward, that would be a huge feat. Say if you hit almost every state on the East Coast in your first year, because that's a huge feat. There's a lot of states, and a lot of big states at that, like Pennsylvania is very big. New
Huge.
York very big. Florida, huge. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So that big markets there for sure.
absolutely. Yep.
Um, I wanted to ask you though, and you had mentioned it briefly, about how this like kind of all started about the fireside chats. Did you develop that, or did someone else develop that?
I developed that as well. Yeah. I did that on a whim, to be honest. I know when I came out of school, I was looking for an understanding of the industry outside of what I experienced, what I was about to experience, and I couldn't find people in other states. I just didn't know how to do it. Like, how do I meet other people in other states and find out what's going on there? And as I was in this industry for a couple of years, I said, you know what? I'm gonna try to do something that I wish I had. So I just built the fireside chat, and people started to join, and we just started having a lot of great conversations. I met some of the most interesting, intelligent people I've met in life through the fireside chat. And I still contact them today. And I know a lot of them still talk today as well. And we have one every month. We have another one next month.
So is it like almost like an AOL chat room if you want to go old school, or like how do you conduct the chat?
It's actually, so I create an agenda, a specific topic, create a flyer as well, right? And we promote it on different social media platforms, and we just do a Zoom call. And the call has number of people on it from all over the country. We've had some people from India, two or three gentlemen from Ghana, Africa, UK, and then we talk about states like Pennsylvania, California, New York, all over it, Georgia. And we just talk about these topics and really understand what's going on in the industry according to like state lines. You learn about a lot of things happening in different states on that call.
I'm going to go even deeper and ask you, did you name it after FDR's fireside chats?
I did not,
No?
but I did it. But I was told that I was asked that a couple of times for a couple of people. Yeah.
I have to say that's one of the history lessons that I learned like in grade school that have stuck in my mind for like the longest time, because the teacher that taught me about FDR was extremely passionate about FDR, and not to go and rant about FDR, but when I saw that today and I was like, fireside chats, oh my God, FDR. I wonder if he named it after FDR.
I definitely found out after the fact. My history is not as great as it should be. No.
My current events aren't great, so there. You probably have me trumped on that. The people that are working with you on radEmploy, are they? I mean, I'm sure you have computer software people working with you. But to help develop the site and like where you wanted to go into, do you have other technologists that are working with you, or people who have worked in the healthcare, like radiology field?
Yeah. So we have everything from advisors that are in the field currently who tell me when I'm wrong, right? They tell me, hey, that's probably not the best thing to do or whatever. They're in the field. We're actually soon going to be hiring a couple people who that'll get posted soon. The new people we're looking to hire as far as the roles. But I'm partial towards technologists and people who've been in the field. So more than likely the people who I'll hire will be people who have like that edge, that thought, that patient care, always about patient care type of angle. But yeah, we do have a couple people on the team that are licensed technologists and are in the field, have been in the field. Yeah.
And I'm sure it helps, for, like you said, you have a lot of new students who are graduating. I don't know if you offer a type of support where, they can call and talk to someone or anything like that. But I mean, sometimes it's so helpful for new grads to be able to talk to seasoned technologists, someone who has been working at least for like 2 years plus, you know what I mean? Because those first 2 years as technologists, I mean, maybe I might be in a boat on my own with this, but I was definitely a deer caught in headlights in some moments. So, I remember my first job working with someone, and I mean, she was a tech for over like 20 years, but like, I felt like when I was working with her, like I kind of like buddied up next to her, like and she was okay with it. She took me under her wing, and I don't really think it was never like a said thing where like, I'm going to come with you. And she's like, okay, come along, sidekick, but
it works like that.
Yeah.
That's how it goes for sure. And that's kind of why I think the fireside chats work, because although we're not working together in the field, there's knowledge that is being imparted on each other, and students can learn from it. But yeah, I totally agree with the community aspect of just our field, regardless of whether it's in the OR, right, or the ER or outpatient center, or whether it's on calls, and we both know that we have a background, and I'm trying to learn from you, trying to learn from me. I think it's totally important. Yeah.
I mean, even in this past year, I've learned a lot from talking to different people like yourself on these different interviews or meetings or chats, whatever we want to call them, really. I've learned a lot, just in general, talking to different people from different fields of radiology. And even those I was sharing with Joel earlier, 2 different gentlemen that I spoke to recently that are using X-ray, but not even particularly for, healthcare purposes. That learned a lot from them as well. So always can be out there learning and picking people's brains and getting new knowledge, which keeps us sharp, and gives us an edge, like you said.
Absolutely. Yep. You have to keep that edge and stay sharp. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap up here. Joel, thanks for being with me tonight. I do really appreciate it and appreciate our conversation.
Thank you. This has been great. It's everything I thought it would be too. So I really appreciate you.
Oh, good. Everybody, this is Joel Horsford sharing with us tonight about his new company that just started 7 weeks ago, but is already booming. radEmploy, RADEmploy. So if you're out there looking for a position in radiology, check it out. I was on the site earlier and it's super friendly, good amount of information on there. I did not set up a profile because I'm not currently looking for employment, but I think I might do it just to check out the whole thing in general. And then those who are listening and you're looking for potential employees, go in there and check it out as well. Get on the waiting list and let Joel and his company help you guys out. So, all right, we'll be back next week, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you.
All right, see ya. You've been watching The Skeleton Crew, brought to you by xraytech.org. On the next episode, join us to explore the present and the future of the rad tech career in the field of radiology.